My name is Caroline. I'm sitting at the window seat in the private dining room of the Ivy Manor, a place filled with the soft glow of candles and the hushed murmur of my family. Just a few minutes ago, the room was alive with the celebration of my brother Adam's promotion to national manager at Sterling and Finch Investments. The air was thick with pride and joy, but all that has changed. A man in a sleek charcoal suit, Mr. Ethan Reed, the CEO of Olympus Holdings, just walked in. With calm, focused eyes, he scanned the table and zeroed in on me. The room fell into an absolute silence when he said he needed to find Caroline Thompson because he needed my signature on a contract before midnight. I watched as my mother's forced smile faded away, replaced by an expression I've never seen before, a mix of shock and uncertainty. My father, who usually exudes an air of self-assurance, put down his fork with a soft clink. My sister Lily stopped mid-sip of her champagne, her eyes wide in surprise. And Adam, who was the guest of honor, looked at Mr. Reed as if he had just seen the world shift on its axis. As I stand up, straightening my mint green blazer, I'm reminded of how far I've come and how long I've been overlooked. 2 years ago, fresh out of business school, I decided to forego a secure corporate job and start my own small consulting firm focused on strategic financial restructuring for small to medium-sized businesses. It was a risky move, especially in the eyes of my family. My parents have always been the type to value stability and prestige. They've built their lives around the traditional corporate ladder, and they've always hoped my brother and I would follow in their footsteps. Adam, being the more outgoing and traditional one, easily fit into the corporate world. He climbed the ranks quickly, and his success became the talk of the family for weeks on end. I, on the other hand, worked quietly. I built my business on word-of-mouth referrals, satisfied clients who appreciated my attention to detail and my ability to turn around struggling businesses. I didn't have a big marketing campaign or a flashy website. I didn't brag about my work because I believed the results would speak for themselves. But at family gatherings, I always felt like an afterthought. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how many successful projects I completed, my parents and extended family seemed more interested in Adam's corporate achievements. Every time I tried to share something about my work, the conversation would quickly shift back to Adam's latest promotion or business deal. This dinner was supposed to be the same. I had on my favorite mint green blazer, which I bought after getting my first big consulting paycheck. As I sat at the window seat, a spot I had claimed at family dinners for as long as I could remember, I thought it would just be another night of being in the background. The dinner started off well. The wine was poured, and the appetizers were delicious. Adam stood up to give a humble speech, and everyone clapped and laughed at the right moments. I genuinely clapped for him. I've never wished him ill, I just wanted a little recognition for myself. Then came the second round of toasts. Uncle Henry had just finished praising Adam's hard work and leadership skills. The room was filled with warm applause when my mother turned to me with that smile, the one that looks kind from a distance but holds a hidden knife. She raised her glass slightly and said, loud enough for everyone at the table of 21 to hear, maybe one day, you'll have something to be proud of too, Caroline. It was like a punch to the gut. I felt the sting of her words, but I refused to let the tears show. I picked up my glass and took a slow sip, looking out the window at the city lights. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was doing what I loved and that my work was valuable. Just then, Mr. Reed walked in. He explained that Olympus Holdings was in the final stages of acquiring a small but troubled logistics company called Horizon Logistics. The deal had been on hold for 6 months because of the company's chaotic internal structure, redundant departments, overlapping contracts, and a compensation system that made no sense financially. 3 top-notch consulting firms had taken a crack at it but had walked away. His team had come across a case study I published about financial restructuring for distressed businesses. They read it multiple times, and Mr. Reed himself read it on a flight from Tokyo. He said he knew right then that I was the one who could solve their problem. It took his team 3 weeks to find me, not because I was hiding but because I operated under the radar. Eventually, they reached out to one of my previous clients, a technology startup in Seattle. That client said 4 words that sealed the deal: she never fails. The contract Mr. Reed needed me to sign was a formal engagement agreement. Olympus Holdings wanted me as the lead consultant on the Horizon Logistics acquisition. The scope was huge, and the timeline was tight. The compensation he mentioned was a staggering $500,000, more than my parents thought I could earn in 5 years. I read every line of the contract carefully in the hallway outside the private dining room while Mr. Reed patiently waited. I had a pen in my blazer pocket, a reminder of my early days when I always over-prepared for meetings because I couldn't afford to make mistakes. I signed the contract and handed it back to him. He shook my hand firmly and said his team would be in touch first thing in the morning. After he left, I stood in the hallway for a moment, taking in what had just happened. I thought about all the times I had sat quietly at family dinners, absorbing the dismissive comments. I thought about all the hard work and sacrifices I had made over the past 2 years. When I walked back into the room, every face turned to me. My Aunt Margaret, who had never shown any interest in my work, leaned forward and asked, "Caroline, what exactly is it that you do?" So, I told them. I told them about all the clients I had helped stabilize, the financial structures I had untangled, and the businesses that were still thriving because I had been willing to dig deep and find solutions. I spoke without drama, just stating the facts. My mother didn't apologize that night, and I didn't expect her to. But I could see a change in her eyes, a hint of respect that hadn't been there before. By the time we left the restaurant, there was a new energy in the air. The Horizon Logistics project was the toughest I've ever taken on. It lasted for 13 weeks, filled with long nights and intense problem-solving. But in the end, Olympus Holdings closed the acquisition on schedule, and I received a glowing recommendation from Mr. Reed. Within 5 months, 3 more referrals came through his network. My business, which used to be a quiet endeavor, now has people asking about it before I even have the chance to mention it. I still sit by the window when I visit home for family dinners. It's not because I've accepted being in the background anymore. I sit there because I like the view, and I've learned that true validation comes from within and from those who recognize your worth, not from those who overlook you. And I know that sometimes, the right people will walk through the door, looking for the quiet achievers who have done the hard work without seeking the spotlight.